At Jiffy Lube, it's our job to make car care make sense. With personalized service reviews that swap the car talk for straight talk, so you know what your car is telling you and what to do about it. Putting you in the driver's seat of car care? That's a job for Jiffy.
Get ready, Ohio. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, is coming to the Buckeye State. And to kick things off, you can get started with $100 in free bets as an early sign-up bonus. Plus, when you sign up today with promo code OhioSB, you'll be all set for when FanDuel goes live in Ohio. Then you can bet on all your favorite teams and all your favorite sports with $100 in free bets. Just download FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Ohio, this is your chance to get in on the action. Join today with promo code OhioSB. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Ohio. Bonus issued in non-withdrawable free bets that expire 7 days after FanDuel accepts its first real money sports wager in Ohio on 1/1/23. Unique user identity verification required. Offer ends on the go-live date. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hello, all, and welcome to the Relationship Renovation Podcast. I'm Tara Kerwin.
And my name is EJ Kerwin.
And we're always grateful to be here, especially on days and episodes when we get to have guest speakers, which is today.
Yeah, and one of the topics that listeners are always asking about, that couples, really they come into therapy about all the time. It's sort of the key indicator that there are struggles in their relationship. It is intimacy, and it's a difficult thing to talk about. It's also something that we get almost zero healthy guidance as young people around. And so we try to dip into this topic as frequently as possible. And we're always grateful when we bring in someone who is an expert and who has a perspective that is going to maybe enlighten you, open you up, and create some really stimulating conversation. So today we have Susan Bratton, and I love her bio. She is an intimacy expert to millions. She's a champion and advocate for all who desire intimacy and passion in their whole life long. She's a co-founder and CEO of two corporations. One is Personal Life Media, which is a publisher of heart-connected lovemaking techniques and bedroom communication skills. And also she has another company, the 20 LLC. It's a manufacturer of organic and botanical supplements that enhance sexual vitality. That is a lot. Susan, thank you so much for being with us today.
Hi, Tara. Hi, EJ. It's so great to be here. You two are just so dedicated to helping couples move through the problems that honestly plague almost everybody. Mm-hmm. And yet, because it's sex, people feel so alone. And so number one, I love that you're from Arizona. I love Tucson. You have the Saguaro National Monument, which is absolutely incredible.
It is, isn't it?
And it's so great to be with you because I know what a great empire you've built to help people and how hard you've worked to make it happen. And I always love to talk to people who are really just butts in seats, helping individual couples move through these things that are totally fixable. So I know you have a lot of success.
Thank you for that. That was very beautiful to hear. And yes, I'm so excited to just hear all about what you're going to say, because again, I can't emphasize enough. I mean, the reason why EJ and I started our own couples counseling center was because we were going through really difficult things in our marriage, and we had both been therapists. And I said, wow, EJ, if two therapists can struggle in this way, like we have to help our community and other couples. And again, one of the biggest issues that we see couples and in the relationship for us in the beginning was intimacy,
Absolutely.
sex and how do we talk about it? And so again, having an expert on and all the work you've done, we're very happy that you're here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Susan, do you mind just sort of first just introducing yourself to our audience and just telling a little bit about yourself and sort of how you ended up where you are?
Yeah, of course. This is my second career, actually. And I started out in the Silicon Valley in high tech. I am literally one of the people that invented the internet. And when I was 42, I was 11 years into my wedding anniversary. I had a couple of gin martinis and said to my husband, I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore. This is not working. You're emotionally checked out. I never see you. We're living parallel lives. I mean, you look at our life, we live in a mansion, we make all this money, we have a beautiful daughter, we drive incredible cars, we go on incredible vacations, but we don't have sex. And you are basically non-existent in this marriage. And really what had happened, hindsight is 2020.
Right.
I didn't want to have sex with him because I had been having sex with him religiously for over a decade by that time in our marriage. And I never had an orgasm from intercourse. It just wasn't good for me. I just got sick of him begging and being bitchy and trying to cajole me. And I just did everything I could to avoid having sex with him.
Yeah, it wasn't like a freedom. It felt like there was a lot of tension or sense of responsibility there.
Exactly.
That's
it was
not
like
sexy.
a chore. It was a chore
Yes.
to have sex with him. And add to that the fact that he was cheating on me, but I didn't know it. And he had so much guilt about it. He was having sex with me, browbeating me into having sex with him while he was cheating on me, and he stunk. I was trying to have sex with him, and he smelled so bad because he was a nervous wreck because he was out of integrity in his marriage. So it was a really horrible situation, just horrible. And I remember that we said, well, we're either going to get divorced or we're going to fix this. And, of course, it was all my problem because I didn't want to have sex, right? Like it was my fault that the marriage was ruined because I was frigid. And this is what happens all the time with couples, is these kinds of dynamics. And I wanted to have good sex. I wanted to have a romantic relationship. I wanted to be in love with my husband. I literally have the best husband in the world. We've now been married 31 years.
Wow.
And we fixed our problems. And here's how we fixed our problems. We went to a marriage and family therapist who was not as good as the two of you. And his girlfriend that he was cheating with that I didn't know about at the time was like, you need to have sex every day. You should leave your wife because I'll give you sex every day. She was trying to break up the marriage and steal him away. And so he would go to the therapist and he would say, I need sex every day. And she's like, I think you might be a sex addict, dude. I think I need you to go to a sex addict anonymous class and, check in with yourself on this because this kind of demand when your wife feels so estranged from you just doesn't seem right. And then she dug into me a little bit and she's like, oh, okay. So your stepfather sexually molested you repeatedly as a child. You've got problems too. You've got huge problems around your sexuality. So we started peeling the layers back. And it turns out that my husband was really just demanding that because his girlfriend told him to, right? Because she was going to give it to him. So he wanted to know if I would give him that, he would stay with me. But if not, then he was just going to go with her. And that was putting me in a really awkward position because I didn't want to have sex with this guy. He was pissing me off. He was acting like an asshole. He was stinky. He was demanding. And I was up against the wall with an ultimatum. It was just the shittiest situation. But I loved him. And I didn't want to ruin my little daughter's life. And I knew we were really good together. It was this one thing. So we worked with the therapist. She really helped me move through my trauma. And really what I had to do to move through that trauma was to get to compassion for my transgressor. And people who are in trauma can barely imagine that to be possible. But with good therapists who deal with trauma, you can move through it, find your way back to who you were before you were traumatized, heal your sexuality. And I did a lot of somatic experience therapy. I did a lot of talk therapy. I did a lot of modalities of therapy because you don't fix trauma just with conversation. I did a lot of G-spot relief and release work to heal the enteric nervous system in my womb from the trauma. At the same time, my husband started working with someone who was a counselor who said, you got to tell her the truth, dude. Like, you're being such a dick, having an affair and not admitting that to your wife while she's trying to fix everything. That's like really bad. So he comes clean. He tells me he's having an affair. Then I go through the crushing shame. It was so weird. But my response was that I had done something wrong, that he had to go have an affair. I took it on myself. So I'm the one that can't have orgasms from intercourse. I'm the one that had the trauma. I'm the one that had the crushing shame because he had to go outside the marriage. I mean, I really took on all this responsibility. And when I look back on it, he was equally responsible. He had no idea how to have sex with me. I had no idea how to have sex with him. And what really fixed it, I mean, the trauma therapy was super helpful. Him getting clean with me was super helpful. And when he got clean with me about what was really going on, we happened to know a wonderful man named Tabor Shadburn, who teaches Brad Blanton's Radical Honesty teachings, his trainings. And Tabor really helped us learn the practice of being honest with each other and being honest with your partner when you're going through trauma, shame, anger, cheating. All this is freaking hard.
Yeah.
Because what you find out about your dishonesty is that you lie all the time. You're basically just a walking liar because our culture demands that you lie, you sugarcoat, you walk on eggshells, you brush it under the carpet, you suck it up. I mean, our whole culture is that. And it's worse for men than women because men, they don't even get the panoply of all of the emotions. The only ones they're allowed to do are anger and victimhood. So that's why they act like assholes.
Right.
So it was just really interesting to go through the getting honest. Well, when you put your penis inside me, it literally takes my turn on down.
Wow.
You stink. I can't stand the way you smell. Saying the stuff that was real. And, I'm so mad at you because you don't have sex with me. Do you know what it's like to live in a sexless marriage? I feel useless. I feel totally unloved. I feel like I'm a worthless piece of crap to you. So we went through all that stuff. And man, it was super cathartic to actually be able to say the things and to really get in touch with our own feelings and put words to these repressed, upset, traumatized parts of us. And it was interesting because about that same time as we were coming through some of the initial therapy and really starting to be honest with each other, we decided that the third thing that was really missing for us was actually knowing how to have sex and co-create pleasure. And it wasn't just about the fact that I had been traumatized. It was also the fact that he came every time we had intercourse. And for him, sex was intercourse. And I never came. And so it was like, all right, we got to get this girl to have orgasms. But I kept disassociating out of sexuality because every time before when someone would stick their penis in me, it was traumatizing for me. I literally never had good sex. I never had loving, heart-connected sex. And so I had to learn, and my husband stayed with me and was like, come back to me. Come back to me. We're right here. And he got me back in my body. And he did all kinds of G-spot massage and yoni massage, yoni being the woman's vulva, basically genital massage to awaken all of the tissue and to heal the nervous system. And we started going to sex workshops. And bam, like that, our sex life got better. Literally, we went to the Human Awareness Institute at hi.org, HAI.org. We did ecstatic loving workshops with Steve and Lakita Carter. Steve has passed on now, unfortunately, but they still continue. We went to orgasmic meditation workshops. We went to expanded orgasm workshops. We did Tony Robbins. We spent like 30 grand going to like workshops and self-help and all this stuff. We walked on fire with Tony. We did Date with Destiny. We learned our relationship values. We started getting honest about what we really wanted. And all of a sudden, I started having orgasms from intercourse.
Wow.
And to this day, literally what happened was we decided that we wanted to start a business. We fell in love with each other. We started having great sex together. We're like, oh my God, all our friends are getting divorced. And we know it's not money because we were all in Silicon Valley raking it in.
Right.
And it was all sex. And it was because they didn't know what they were doing. And we're like, we got to bring this on the internet, babe. We're internet people. We got to bring these workshops where you have to spend, thousands of dollars, fly to San Francisco, get naked in a room full of people, which nobody's going to do, and turn this into online programs that couples can do together to learn how to transform having sex, which is shitty, into making love, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And we want to teach people how to have all kinds of orgasms. We want to teach people that orgasms are learned skills. We want to teach people what the techniques are. We want to teach them pleasuring techniques. We want to teach them bedroom communication skills. And by the way, a few years into it, because we've been doing this going on 20 years, a few years into it, we're like, we better do the health thing because people's genitals hurt. They've got ED, they've got painful sex, so we got to fix that problem too, because you have to have mind, body, and spirit to make the whole wheel turn in your sex life.
Right.
So that's really the story of us understanding that, yes, there's trauma. You can get through trauma. Honesty is the only way to go. You can handle honesty. What you can't handle is the not knowing. Honesty is the gift you bring to your marriage. And stop lying and start being reality-based and get educated about sex, and you'll get good at it like that. Click, click, click. It's so easy and fast. And that was really the beginning of Personal Life Media that we've been now almost 2 decades. We have online programs. I've written over 44 books and programs. I've published the work of my mentors. I'm, just constantly out there speaking from stage, on podcasts, on television, on radio, and just letting people know that there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. You can learn what you need to know. It happens super, super fast. The turnarounds are really possible. And all the stuff that you're frustrated about, low libido, mismatched libido, my partner's not romantic enough, all the things you don't like about your sex life are so easily fixable if you just know what to do. And the to do is easy. So that's really how I turned my greatest wound into my greatest gift.
Yeah, what a story of personal and relationship redemption, right? I mean, just completely flipped it around.
Well, and that you and your husband went through so much of your own work together and doing all of the workshops and I think that's why EJ and I have been so successful in what we do, because we took our own suffering and we tried to come up with whatever we could in our own therapist toolbox, and not only that, but our own human toolbox. And we were able to be successful in building emotional safety and connecting. And so we feel so empowered, and we know that you don't have to separate. There is a way, and it feels like you and your husband found this peace through the intimacy world, which a lot of couples do not do. They get to that point of helplessness, and then it's done. And it's learned helplessness at that point. And then the stories they've created are so embedded, and for, I guess what I'm hearing too is the idea of going to these sex workshops or whatever seems probably a little overwhelming for a lot of couples, but that you were able to work with your husband and create these online programs where couples can do it safe from their home.
Yes, that's exactly right.
I mean, I'm sold. We're going to be purchasing whatever tonight, honey.
Oh, no, I'll give you everything. You don't have to buy anything. You should have it. One of the latest things, I have been on fire lately, just writing and doing my best work. I'm 61 years old. I'm having the best sex of my life. My vulva, I don't use the word vagina because that's just one part of our overall urogenital system. I say vulva or I say yoni, Y-O-N-I. Yoni is the tantric sex word for the female genital system. And the male is the lingam. So sometimes you'll hear me say penis, sometimes lingam, sometimes yoni, sometimes vulva.
Okay.
My vulva is absolutely gorgeous right now. It is so velvety and rich and beautiful, and it looks pretty. It smells like nothing, perfect, healthy. It's super activated, highly orgasmic, extremely responsive. It gives me incredible pleasure. Intercourse is the best it's ever been for me in my whole life. I have 15 or 20 different kinds of orgasms, locations to stimulate, techniques we use, toys and objects that give us orgasms. I mean, I'm having so much fun in my sex life. And I think that people have these limiting beliefs your libido drops at menopause. Bullshit. As you age, you want less sex. Bullshit. You get too old and you age out of sex because you get, ED or you shrivel up or whatever. Bullshit. It's all bullshit. Your best sex is ahead of you.
Yeah.
And it is one of the most nurturing besides the love of family and friends. And if you have a faith and that's important to you, the benefits of faith for you, your health, your energy, your exercise, the delicious food in your life, art, song, music, connection, sex is right there. It's in that top 5 or 10 things that make you love your life and yourself. It reboots your nervous system. It infuses you with all kinds of wonderful neurotransmitters, peptides, hormones, etc. It just keeps you young and it keeps you vital. When you stop having sex, your planned human obsolescence accelerates. I mean, we only live so long. And if you want to get old fast and die, stop having sex. So you got to fight for your sex life.
Yeah.
You got to do the things that make it fun. So you want to keep doing it. And what I wrote just recently is something called the Sex Life Bucket List. Because what I've realized over the years, and I'll wrap this up so you can get a word in edgewise. What I've realized over the years is that people like techniques for sure. Don't get me wrong, especially men. And people need bedroom communication skills. So I make it very easy to learn how to talk in the bedroom. And we can parking lot that if you want to go there. But what I think people really want from me and what keeps the monotony of monogamy out of the bedroom is fun, sensual, and sexual experiences that you have together. So I created the Sex Life Bucket List. It's at sexlifebucketlist.com. It's a downloadable PDF. When you download it and print it out, there are 48 exciting experiences and ideas you can do together as a couple, and most of them you can do as a solo person. You should not give up your sex life just because you don't have a partner right now. And if you have a partner, you should be damn lucky and know you are, and stop treating them badly because you're so freaking lucky to have them. There's so many lonely people out there. And you go through this and you say, okay, this idea is an A. I definitely want this on my bucket list. This is a B. I wouldn't be on my bucket list, but if my partner wanted to do it, I would do it. And this is a C. It's not for me right now. Because as you sexually mature, the things you used to think, I'm not going to do that, now are the stuff of your fantasies. So sexlifebucketlist.com is really one of my best solutions to helping couples find their way back to having fun in the bedroom together. Because if you just keep wearing the same old path to the same old neural networks that you always use, it's just, you're on your road to death. You gotta fight for your life, and you gotta fight for your sex life.
I think we're going to have like little file folders in each of our therapist office with the Sex Life Bucket List folder so they can give it to all of our couples we see.
Exactly.
Well, it's like a tool, right? To just to give people one of the big things that we do oftentimes with couples is just like give them the gateway to stimulating conversations, give them the gateway back to curiosity, because, sex aside, like life starts to feel really mundane. And you just, so here's a big question. I think most of our listeners are gonna relate to this. Is we get this message that just people have different libidos. That there's always a high desire partner. There's always a low desire partner. In heterosexual relationship, the message is like, hey, men are just gonna have a higher sex drive. And women, especially after they have children, it's just going to diminish. You got to figure out a way to deal with it. And from everything that I read about you before we had you on, like you don't buy into that, and help us understand what's flawed about that.
Yeah. Well, I think what the problem is that men have three distinct sexual competitive advantages. The first one is that men get a bath of testosterone once or twice a day. And if they have pretty good testosterone, it makes them horny. They have more testosterone coursing through their body than females do. And testosterone's really the molecule of lust. So they're horny every day. The second thing is that men are biologically driven to masturbate on a daily or close to daily basis because they need to keep their semen and their sperm fresh. Because if you're not having sex and creating progeny, offspring, then that planned obsolescence is you're dying. So men want to masturbate pretty much their whole lives. That's what keeps them young and horny and healthy. And women don't have that drive to masturbate because they don't need sperm to be fresh. They've got eggs for so long. And so they're always playing with their dick, and they're always thinking about sex every day. And they're probably watching porn, so they're getting some sexual stimulation. And so sex is on their mind every day, where for women, it's very easy because we're estrogen dominant. We've got our mind on like a million things. We're much less linear. We're more parallel in our thinking, multifunctional in our thinking. And so it's hard for us to get out of our head and into our body. Guys are in their body because they're touching their penises all the time. And so they're just thinking about sex more. And then the third thing is, and this is really where it gets messed up. why women don't want to have the sex that men do ongoing. Because men have very fast acting hemodynamics, blood flow, because they have a penis, which is basically a banana. You think, imagine a banana. And if you think about the banana and that's his penis, okay. So if you think about it, 50% of his penis sticks out of his body. 50% is in and down toward his testicles. So now you've got this whole banana. And when you peel away the skin, all that fruit is erectile tissue. And it's three straight chambers. So he thinks about sex, he gets aroused, and if he's healthy, he gets a hard on. Men get 4 to 6 nocturnal erections a night. They wake up with morning wood. They masturbate every day. I mean, they're really in the sex groove all the time. And this is all predicated on them being healthy, right? If they're eating shitty food, they're not doing any exercise, all that goes away. It's use it or lose it. But with women, if I took my clitoris out and I put it in your hand, my clitoris, our women's clitorises would cover the palm of your hand. It's like a little organ. It's called the clitoral body. It has a tip, a shaft, the body. It has 2 arms and it has 2 vestibular bulbs. It's a piece of meat inside there. And that's one of 3 erectile tissues in our system. The other one is the perineal sponge. People call it a G spot. It's not a spot. It's a big long tube, like a pool noodle of erectile tissue. It looks closer to what is inside the penis. And then we have a third sponge between the vagina and the rectum called the perineal sponge. Our vaginas are literally wrapped in a bracelet of erectile tissue. It's not just the tip of the clitoris. It's all the buried treasure that's inside us that we're not aware of because we can't see it. And so it takes 20 to 30 minutes of stimulation to get that blood flow into that erectile structure, all 3 of them, to plump up so that it's full of blood, so that it has the surface area that's bigger, that sends all the pleasure signals to the brain, our biggest sex organ, so we feel the pleasure that is our birthright. But what do women do? Hurry up, stick it in, get it over with, and go.
Exactly.
Never get engorged, never get turned on, never get a hard on. Why don't they want to have sex? Because it's shitty for them.
Because they don't know.
I had sex with my husband for a decade, 11 years of dutiful sex without a single orgasm from intercourse. He came every single time. And when you see that Dr. Lori Mintz on her TED Talk talking about the orgasm gap, the gap between how easy it is for men to have an orgasm, how difficult it is for women. But the answer is really my number one thing I like to make sure people understand, which is she needs 20 to 30 minutes of sex. And I don't mean foreplay. I mean intercourse. I mean, stroke my hair, play with my breasts, tease my nipples, kiss my neck, pat my belly, grab my butt, stroke my thighs, use a vibrator on my mons, my outer labia, awaken all my clitoral tissue with a yoni massage, get good at where all the parts are and how to touch them all the way they need to be touched to bring the blood flow in. When you kiss, when you play with breasts and nipples, you start arousal from the inside out. It's the everted clitoral erection. When you do vibration, manual pleasuring, and oral pleasuring, you're doing external clitoral erection. You're getting the tissue from the inside and the outside to fill with blood so that literally you can cross that gasm chasm. You can actually have intercourse where it feels super good to her because she's finally got an erection. So I say to couples, every time you have intercourse without being fully engorged, you're putting another brick in the wall of your future sexless marriage. You have to put the work in to the vulva that it takes to get the commensurate erection, or don't even bother.
Tara's jumping out of her seat over
I'm
here.
like mind blown, Susan. Mind blown. Like,
how come?
No, and it's such a good way because I think, again, as a mom of 4 kids, I'm like, 30 minutes. Like, you're right? I have that, like, okay, let's just like, great. Like, I've got 10 minutes, honey. Like, okay. It's just a whole different way of perceiving like what my body is capable of. Like, I didn't know any of this, Susan. Like,
Well,
thank
people
you.
don't.
No, I know. This is going to be like probably our most listened to podcast ever.
Yeah. As you were saying all that, like what I was thinking inside of myself is like, gosh, it's like we go out throughout our lives with this sexual awareness of like a teenager. You know, it's like kind of
Barely.
that instinctual sort of like no brain approach to sex that we had when we first had it. It doesn't evolve much, you know, because like what's the support around it? Like, what's the education around it? It's nothing, right?
I know. Even most sex educators don't even know this.
Yeah.
They're still posting, you have to do oral because women can't have orgasms from intercourse. And I'm like, you're wrong. This is incorrect. You shouldn't even be a sex therapist. I mean, like, it's just terrible, the misinformation that's out there. But it's getting better. I mean, even just me being able to tell you that I could put my clitoris in your hand and it would cover up your palm. We're finally, literally this is the year 2022 when we're recording this, we're finally literally getting the dissected clitorises from, you know, a half dozen to a dozen female cadavers, 40 to 80, and studying them and looking at them. And you know why we're doing that? Thank our trans folks. Because they're having sex change surgeries and they needed to know where the nerves were and what they innervated and how they could spare damage to the nerves when they rebuilt the genitals to switch genders. And so it's literally the trans folks that are helping all the women in the world finally become aware that we have as much erectile tissue in our vulva as our male-bodied partners do. But I always joke that it's kind of like an English muffin. We're an English muffin because you have to take the muffin out of the package and you have to slice it and then you have to put it in the toaster. And when it pops up, it's not toasted. Ever the first time. The muffin is the most recalcitrant toasted object there is. And so you have to hit the toaster down again. And then it pops up and it's toasted. Then you take the cold butter and you have to put it on there and you squeeze the two sides together and then you wait. And then the butter melts into all the nooks and crannies. That's the blood flow to the vulva. It's nooks and crannies. And I'll tell you something. Just mentioning that English muffin makes my mouth water every time. Doesn't it sound so good, that English muffin, that toasty, buttery English muffin? It's friggin' worth the wait.
Absolutely.
So like if you really, my husband and I call ourselves Team Sweetie, and it's us against my vulva. Like I don't have any control over my vulva. She wants what she wants and my husband won't have a quickie with me. If I'm like, let's just do a real fast. And he's like, because you know she'll get all mad at me. I'm not doing it. So we team up with her for her, where it's our job together to do the things that are going to bring the blood flow so that when we do get to intercourse, I'm happy. Because if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Empowering
and if mama's yoni
everywhere.
ain't happy, everybody's miserable.
So we jumped like into the deep end right away. And most, if not all couples, like some of what we're talking about, this awareness, they're probably a little bit blown away, like Tara was, right? What's the entry point for a couple who has been struggling, maybe years, maybe decades? What's the entry point for them even beginning this pathway? Yeah,
learning yoni and lingam massage. Like, all right, you don't want sex as much as I do. Let's work on that with a hands-on approach. We're going to schedule dates, and the dates are going to be to learn how to do yoni and lingam massage. I'm going to stroke your penis with my hands. I'm going to use warm, sweet almond oil, organic if possible. You're going to lie there on a towel and you can play with my boobs. You can tell me dirty stories. We can have conversations. You can tell me harder, softer, longer, deeper, tickle my balls, whatever you want to do. And EJ's laughing, tickle my balls. You guys can't see him because we're on an audio podcast, but I can see him over there giggling. Oh, tickle my balls.
and blushing a little, Susan.
He can handle it.
Absolutely.
This is the thing I know about people. People want to know the truth and they can handle it. You don't need baby people. People really really appreciate the truth. So at first they're like, oh my God, you should have heard this lady on the Relationship Renovation podcast. Oh my God. But they're like, thank God I heard her. So
yeah, exactly.
So you do the lingam, and then the next day you do the yoni massage. And on my website, betterlover.com, just go to the top of the search box, type in yoni, type in massage, type in vagina, and you will find all my videos on yoni and lingam massage. You'll find so many videos. I tell you how to do it, what to do, etc. And you can watch them together. And then you begin to be giving each other feedback. Oh, look at that. Now you're talking to each other about your sex and what feels good. Imagine that. So it's just really the practice of you got to try it to get good. You got to do it to get good. And the more you start to pleasure each other, the more connected you get, the more your limbic systems connect, the more you start to conjoin again, the more you feel intimate and close, the less pissed off you are, the more pleasure you're having, the more you're laughing. And pretty soon, she's making dates with him because now she's really turned on because she's finally getting what she never got. And she's starting to love sex. Now she wants to try a vibrator. Oh, now she wants to try a cock ring. Oh, now she wants to do some lingerie modeling. Oh, now they want to try mutual masturbation. Oh, now they want to find her G-spot. Oh, now they want to find his P-spot. Like it just builds.
It keeps
on
going.
Itself.
It keeps going and going. And then we're out of business, Susan. Like then no one will come to couples counseling anymore.
Oh, no, they're still going to bitch about money. Don't worry.
I'm just kidding.
I always joke that if sex were a brand, it has a tagline. Sex, there's always something more.
That is so great.
It never ends. The joy and pleasure never ends. I've never run out of fun things to do.
I mean, there's
I
just
do it all the time.
Well, and I also think it's important just to go back to, because you have a history of trauma, and we see a lot of couples where one partner or both have a history of sexual trauma, and we also know like 1 out of 3 women have been sexually abused in their life, and that is the current research, which is unfortunate but true.
I think it's low. I think that number's low, and I think so many men are traumatized too. I think
agree.
it's traumatizing to live in our culture. Our culture is sexually repressed. We have a lot of religious shame. We have no information except things that are scare tactics. No wonder we're struggling.
But to know that like you can heal through that and have an entirely different experience with your sexuality, and you can feel empowered in it instead of disempowered. And I love that you shared your story. Thank you. I mean, I know that's vulnerable, but I think it's really important for a lot of people to hear that who have experience,
who probably think that they can never have a satisfying sex life, that it was sort of robbed from them at an early point in their life.
Yeah, you can. Everyone can move through it. It is possible. I like multimodalities, though. I like talk therapy combined with somatic experience technology. I like that combined with G-spot awakening and vulva massage or penis massage. There's a lot of penis shame out there, too. There's a lot of trauma out there for men. Don't be surprised. There are. Even things like men just being afraid to give their heart completely. Who wants to have sex with a guy that can't love them fully? You don't want to do that. There's a lot of guys that hold back their love. They don't know how to do it. And women too. I mean, and really, I think there's something interesting where betrayal, just even betrayal, not even sexual abuse or sexual trauma or shaming or religious repression, but just betrayal. My brand of sex that I teach is transforming having sex into making love. It's heart-connected, passionate lovemaking. I like to say I transform friction into connection. Because there's rubbing your genitals together to make an orgasm. That's one thing. But how do you have a soulful, beautiful, intimate, joyful, loving, heart-connected experience? That takes some learning and practice. You have to open your heart to it. And we have to get over our body shame. We're taught our bodies are ugly. They're beautiful. I mean, they are a wild range of looks and feels, and they ain't going to get any better as you age. So you might as well love it right now, starting today.
Yeah. It also, as you were saying, that it takes a willingness to take a big risk, right?
Yeah.
Because 99% of couples are going into completely unknown territory. And they've also at times, like you said, betrayed each other. They've hurt each other. And taking that risk together is, I think, whether people recognize it or not, it's scary.
Yeah. But they can do it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, Susan, your next adventure should be to create a program for therapists to get trained in so we can all have training when we're doing our intimacy work with couples. That is like your next gig, okay?
That's so sweet. Thank you, Tara.
Oh, no, for sure. This is amazing.
Yeah. So there's like a 1-2 punch of when people come to couples counseling.
Yeah.
You hear intimacy, that's a big one. The other is communication. Right? Yeah. Is that people can't talk. They argue over everything. And one of the things that you talk a lot about is like there's a role, communication has a big role in this return to, or this emerging into a healthy, happy sex life together. What's the role communication has?
Well, I really feel like it's the foundation of a good sex life. If you could learn all the techniques in the world, but if you can't ask for what you want, or if you're afraid to because you're afraid your partner's going to take it personally, like they did something wrong, or they're not going to be able to hear it, or they're going to contract, or they're going to go, I know what I'm doing, you don't have to tell me, or whatever it is. Or you don't know what you want, you just know what you're getting isn't it, so you just keep your mouth shut and suck it up.
Right.
These are all the things that make it very, very hard for couples to ever get anywhere. And so one of my best-selling books is a book called Sexual Soulmates, The 6 Essentials to Connected Sex. And in it, one of the 6 essentials, because I've been helping couples for decades now, millions of people, giving them free advice. That's what I do. I don't charge by the hour. I just have programs. And sometimes I'm like, yes, this is the program you need. Other times I'm like, all right, tell me what the problem is. Try this thing. And so over the years, I've really found that it's these 6 essentials that make the difference. And one of the 6 is, and let me give your listeners the whole book. You can buy it on Amazon, Sexual Soulmates, but you can download a free PDF of it at sexualsoulmatesbook.com. So that's free. And one of the 6 essentials is the Sexual Soulmate Pact, PACT, like an agreement. And I really feel like, in a way, that's the most fundamental skill of all the skills. You can't get off the starting line. It's like you've got the car with no keys if you don't have the agreement to be able to communicate your needs, because women change every single day. We're on a moon cycle. And even after menopause, that moon cycle affects whether we're a kitty cat or a lioness at any given moment. And whether we want a strong touch and firm touch or a soft touch, whether we need to be held or whether we need to be ravished. And we really run that range. And that's inscrutable to men who are a bit more steady state. And so they're like, how come what I'm doing to her worked yesterday and it doesn't work today? Well, dude, because today's a different day. And so you can't expect your guy to know what you need, and you have to figure it out yourself and tell him. And he has to be willing to hear it, knowing, how could he know? You live in an animal body. That animal is constantly changing. And so that's that team sweetie thing again, where the two of you have to stand together. You've got each other's backs. You are a unit against your biology and your animalness and all of the things that we can't control in our lives. And so the Sexual Soulmate Pact is a very ninja technique that really helps couples start to get into the team sweetie thing, start to understand that you're going to want different things at different days, that it's nobody's fault, and that feedback isn't failure. It's actually the winning strategy for incredibly pleasuring yourself and your partner. And once couples kind of get over the blame game of like, oh, why is she telling me what to do? And into like, tell me more. Thank you, baby. That helped. How am I doing now? When you start getting when the wheel turns in that direction, instead of in the contraction and blame direction, then your sex life really takes off, because then you can talk about anything. You can talk about your fantasies, your desires, whatever it is in the moment. And you start to really tune into what your body is telling you and speak on behalf of the animal in which you live. So sexualsoulmatesbook.com is where you can get that, plus the other 5 essentials for connected sex.
Yeah. And we'll make sure, like in our podcast show notes, that we put, I've written everything down, just links to all of this, because
thanks, Tara.
Again, I know everyone's so excited. They're probably going to be racing home after they listen to this podcast to go.
Absolutely. I mean, it feels like we just sort of stuck our toe in it,
well,
right?
We're going to have Susan back on. many times.
Absolutely.
And we're going to have video so she can do the banana thing.
Yeah,
in front
right.
of
I've got so many diagrams and all kinds of things. You can see the clitoral tissue and all kinds of stuff. Another thing I'd like to come back and talk about more is this whole notion of vaginal rejuvenation and penile rejuvenation, because what I found is that the people who are most interested in having a good sex life are actually in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. When you're young, you don't know what you don't know. When you're 30, you're having your kids and you're too exhausted. By the time you're 40, you're like, oh God, I'm going to die. I better get on this sex life thing because I'm not happy. And then you start really but your genitals have started to age. So now you're like, I have a great sex life, but it's hurting me, or I'm not as hard as I used to be. So I like to talk about FemiWave for women, Gains Wave for men, PRP for both sexes, the VFit Gold for women, the penis pump for men. There's some nitric oxide supplementation, right? My nitric oxide supplement, Flow, buyflownow.com is the cheapest place you can get it. When we talk about those kinds of things, it's really the third leg of that stool of a good foundation, the communication skills, the bedroom techniques and fun things to do, and then keeping your genitals in good working order. And so a little deeper dive into that, I find people are like, I didn't even know that was a thing. And now I got to go do that. And it really works. I used to have to send people to do things that I didn't really like. Now I have a simple lineup of the best things that really work. So we're sitting pretty now in the 21st century with our good technologies, which is great. We can really reverse aging.
Oh, that is awesome. I really literally have had goosebumps like this entire podcast, Susan. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so glad.
I feel like we opened a door and found you are an incredible resource to couples. And I think this is going to be.
Thanks, EJ.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we'll definitely, listeners, we'll place all of these links in our show notes and make sure that they know how to get information from you. And we're super glad to hear that you'd be willing to come on again, because we'd love to go deeper and maybe, like you said, pick one thing and really just go deeper into it and help people understand. Because people, once they hear somebody who's advocating something that they have personally gained from, there's like this like belief, like it can happen. We can have a great sex life together. We can communicate in healthy ways.
Age.
And Susan's living proof, right?
Absolutely. And if you guys can see her, she's smiling from ear to ear. So
that's what all those good orgasms do.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Susan Bratton, once again. You've just been just a joy to speak with. It's hard not to smile and sort of like be inspired by your energy. So thank you so much for being a part of the Relationship Renovation podcast today.
And thank you for all
EJ.
of your wisdom and knowledge you are sharing with others. Like it's profound. It really, truly is.
Yeah, we're doing some research this weekend for sure.
Yeah. And thank you so much for giving me a platform to help more people through the work that you do. It is not easy to put on a podcast. So thank you for having me as a guest. I'd love to come back anytime. And I send my love to all of your fans and followers who I know are so lucky to have both of you. So be well until I return.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for checking us out. Please, if especially around this episode, if there are some real direct questions you have, some information you'd like us to pass on to Susan, or when she comes back to ask her, please, we appreciate your feedback. We'll help you in any way we can. That's our mission, is helping you have a happy, healthy, loving relationship with your partner.
And I'm going to do a little bit of a different ending closing today because I just feel like it's needed. So I always say, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of your yoni and your lingam.
Yay!
And we will see you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Me and you just singing on the train. Me and you listening to the rain. Me and you, we are the same. Me and you have all the fame we need. Indeed, you and me are we.
You're a holiday powerhouse. You host the dinners, shovel neighbors' sidewalks, and make everything from scratch. You definitely don't need help making the holidays happen. But Dunkin's Holiday Blend Coffee? A warmy medium roast complete with sweet notes of dried fruit and molasses. Or a cranberry orange muffin made with real cranberries just might convince you a little help never hurt. Especially the hot caffeinated kind. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Terms apply.
This holiday, whether you're making a Kroger Simple Truth turkey for 40 or a Murray's Baked Brie for 2, Kroger has fast, fresh delivery and free pickup, so you can make holiday meals that bring you all together to create memories that last. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Free pickup on orders of $35 or more. Restrictions may apply.
Choose from a great selection of digital coupons and use them up to 5 times in one transaction. Check our app for details. Kroger, fresh for everyone.